The analogy of Scripture is also related to the notion of a canon within the canon. What is a canon within the canon? Well, the canon, of course, by that we mean, that's two N's, not three, canon. That means the entirety of Scripture, the 66-book canon for most of us, Protestants anyway. So, think about just to illustrate what a canon within the canon is, think about what happens in Genesis chapter 1. If I ask you what Genesis 1 is about, if you have any familiarity with Scripture, you probably know something from Genesis 1. Or in the New Testament, if I say, what's Acts 2 about? You may have already some clue about that. Okay. What if I say, what's Leviticus 16 about? You know that passage? Now people usually have a harder time, all right? Well, that's the Day of Atonement, the Yom Kippur regulations. Very important in Jewish history. We say, well, maybe that was a tough one. That's the Old Testament. Many Christians may not be quite as familiar with it. Okay, 3 John from the New Testament. What's 3 John about? Well, again, there's a lot of silence when I usually ask that question. Well, it's about a guy named Gaius. It's about hospitality and so forth. But hopefully you see in that illustration that those first two I mentioned, Genesis 1 and Acts 2, are more of what I would call the canon within the canon, whereas maybe Leviticus 16 and 3 John, even if important to some people and in some parts of our history, aren't as well known these days. So, 2 characteristics of canon within a canon. First, it's the most important book or passage or section of Scripture. That is, it's most important because it answers the most important questions. It contains the most important doctrine. Second, because of its importance, it becomes a lens through which the rest of Scripture is read and interpreted. So it's not that the other parts of the canon are non-authoritative or not important, it's just there are some that are more important or central than others. So, what is your canon within the canon? If you like what you've heard and you want more, visit christian-studies.org and subscribe to the video course on understanding the Bible. And while you're there, check out our journal and other content from the Center for Christian Studies.